papers in Nigeria at least.
Well, it's a challenge from the French policy of assimilation. Right. And Italy does not have a concomitant policy, and the exodus across North Africa into Europe is a challenge for all of them, especially Italy and Spain.
That's right.
Those are the footprints. Editorial.
Editorial today is taken from the Daily Independent newspaper, and it's at page 16. The headline is Nigeria, 200 million and still growing. And the editorial says, among others, that it concedes that a large, healthy and productive population could be an asset where basic infrastructure is provided and corruption is reduced to the barest minimum so that resources can achieve high development returns. But these do not detract from the serious adverse effect of uncontrolled population growth on development efforts. Many who are prone to raising large families are either illiterate or belong to the lower economic strata. This highlights the value of expanding the education net.
Well, the editorial is drawing a parallel between nations with a very huge population and also a huge population of poverty levels. The editorial is citing 5 nations: China, India, Nigeria, Indonesia, and Bangladesh. And the argument is that if you use China as an example, China has succeeded in reducing its poverty level from 62% to about 12.5%. India succeeded about from 54% to 33%. However, recent statistics from Nigeria Bureau of Statistics indicated that Nigeria has about 87 million people living in poverty. That is people who are earning less than $1.9 a day. So the editorial is recommending strict population control as a way of an economic management. And it says Nigeria population, which in 1960 was 42.1 million, has now grown in 2018 to an estimation of about 198. And this, we are told, if it is not controlled, by the year 2030 or thereabout, Nigeria's population could be about the 4th in the world. And so it is recommending measures that include serious campaign on population control, and that the federal, state, and local government should adopt policies that relate to contraceptive as well as child spacing and a way of limiting expansive families.
Bayo, that's, of course, you know, we've discussed population issues on Good Morning Nigeria. You've also expressed your views while reviewing the headlines. It's becoming a major challenge, a demographic challenge that we are facing. 198 million, and you find that you need to provide more houses, more schools, more hospitals, and so on and so forth. Indeed, one graphic way of looking at it is to say, look, what was Nigeria's population in year 2006 when we had a census? And what is Nigeria's population today? If you look at the numbers, the number of persons that have, you know, that have been born into the Nigerian system, if you look at the population figure from 2006 to now, it's more than the population of South Africa.
That is very critical. But there's a positive side to that population. A larger part of that population is quite young. Yes. And that is a productive population. So if the population can be put to productive use, it will turn to be an asset.
All right. Put them to productive use, Bayo.
Yes.
That's what we are hearing in the campaign hostings. Bayo Atoyebe, thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
It's still Good Morning Nigeria, and our topic for discussion is 2019 electioneering and the Nigerian economy. To set the tone for the discussion, let's take this background report put together by our correspondent, Abdul Malik Adil.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Getting around heartburn and indigestion can be tricky if you eat too much. Eat food that is too spicy or greasy, or lie down after eating. Heartburn and indigestion could always be around the corner. When they come, be prepared with Gaviscon Double Action. It works within 3 minutes and lasts up to 8 hours. Gaviscon Double Action. Many causes, one solution.
Sore throat, it's often caused by bacteria and viruses. Feels like they're having a party. You need Strepsils. It soothes the pain, plus it fights the germs with 2 germ-killing actives. Double power in 1 lozenge. Bye-bye sore throat. Take Strepsils.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
We are feeding 9.2 million children every single day in 26 states as part of our school feeding program. We are giving 2 million petty traders a trader money loan. You see the way they are getting very angry about trader money. When you take care of the poor people, only those who are wicked and evil will complain. The trader is the bottom of the rung in our commercial value chain. He's the most hardworking, the petty trader. Some of them, all their inventory is not up to 2,000 naira. Well, I met a woman who was selling her pomo in the market here in Yanya market here. I asked her, how much is this pomo? She says maybe it's about 3,000. And then I asked her, how do you make profit? How much profit do you make? She didn't even answer me. She just pointed to another woman whose pomo was in a little bowl to show me that, look, I am a big player here, despite my 3,000. So the government decided, with the approval of Senate at the time, we should go ahead and do this, because that's a part of our program. A very important part of our program is that we must give credit to traders, we must give credit to those who are doing small businesses so that they can improve their businesses, so that they can employ more people, so that they also can prosper and our nation can prosper. This is the reason why we're going around doing the trader money and also what we call market money all over the country. 2 million petty traders. And we're going to continue to do so because our people deserve a better life.
Thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live from Abuja. And to set the tone for our discussion, Hamid Adeo has our backgrounder on 2019 electioneering and the Nigerian economy. We'll be right back.
Because he has the character, he has the honesty, he has the transparency.
It is another electioneering year with growing anxiety in the political arena and its attendant consequences on the state of the economy. In less than a month, 91 political parties will slug it out at the polls for different political offices. Experts say whatever happens in the political arena is bound to affect the financial market positively or negatively. Feelers from the stock markets indicate that investors have lost a whopping sum of 729 billion naira in the last 3 months of decline linked to election anxiety, extraneous factors, and profit-taking, since the sustaining market fundamentals and upbeat economic data fail to support a much-expected healthy stock price recovery. Investors and traders, who are mostly foreigners, are concerned about the political risk associated with the 2019 elections. The fear of unknown may have forced many of them to prefer to sit on the fence and watch as things unfold. Expert says one way out of the possible backlash on the economy is to encourage quick passage of the 2018 appropriation bill by the National Assembly and for government to adopt pragmatic strategies that will guarantee peaceful campaigns, ensure a robust security arrangement to keep fiscal policy on track, boost investment, and sustain market rebound to restore investors' confidence for economic outfit for the benefit of the citizenry. Guest on Good Morning Nigeria will share more light on the 2019 elections and the economy shortly.
All right, now joining us here in the Abuja studios to discuss this issue in further detail, would like to welcome Niyi Akinseju. Of course, it's a regular face now. Good morning, Nigeria. He's a financial and investment analyst. Niyi, good to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure.
All right. Also here with us in the studios is Yushwao Aliu, who is an economist. Yushwao, pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigeria.
And from our Lagos studio, we have Mr. Ken Ukoha, the President, National Association of Nigerian Traders. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. We also have in the Lagos studio Mr. John Chukwu, a financial analyst. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Gentlemen, once again, pleasure to have you with us on the program. Let's begin. Charity, they say, begins at home. So let's begin with the guests who are here with us at the Abuja headquarters studios. First, with Niyi, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, you were on this program discussing the economic outlook for Nigeria in 2019. Right now, it is clear that this is the thick of the electioneering season. There were concerns in the past as to the slow pace of electioneering, but here we are, the electioneering is at full blast, as it were. What is it that you are reading with regard to the, shall we say, the cascading effects of the electioneering on aspects of the economy?
Yeah, well, if I take the word of phrase cascading, I won't compare to what we used to experience. And if we give literary meaning to cascading, I think there's cascading in recession in the current environment. And I think there's an evolving political ecosystem, you know, in our environment, as it were. For some of us, it's appreciated because a major concern coming into 2019 was an expectation of huge electionary expenses that would, you know, lead to increase in inflation rates. And of course, everybody now understands the essential consequences of increased inflation rates. And especially when we start to compare to where we are coming from. In 2015, I remember at this time, of that period, dollar was the currency of choice, and it eventually reflected even on the inflationary rates. 2014 ended at 14% inflationary rate. By March, April of that year, inflationary rate had gone up to 9.3, 9.4%, more than 140 basis points, and that tells you that within 120 days, so much money had gone into the system, and it had impacted pricing. And when it impacts pricing, of course, it will impact the consumers down there. So what we are seeing now is a measured, deliberate policy by government to reduce the impact of money, in this election. I've always told people personally that the currency of campaign should be goodwill. Yes, there are basic expenses that would have to come in. You can't go beyond it. Marketing, communication, for instance, advertisement and all that. But we spend more money. Nigeria, historically, the Nigerian politicians spend more money on extra political things. We pay cash for support, and we pay cash for votes. Cash for support in terms of moving people from one point to the other to show your support. And of course, when it comes to the election period, you pay cash to voters to vote for you. Now, these are the things that bond the system, because you pump in errant money, into the economy. And of course, the first attraction of those money is a basic consumption. And that also drives liquidity in the system. So what I'm trying to say essentially is that we have a government now that had deliberately reduced the significance of money in politics. And I think we should congratulate the government for that. And the major thing really is also closing, because when you are talking money in politics, you have an incumbent. What the incumbent will do is to encourage ministries, departments, and agencies to give money to political supporters. What those outside government will do is to launder the money solely from somewhere into the system. So you have a 6 months period that is principally dedicated to errant money in the system.
Sorry, what did you say? Errant? Or?
Yeah, very errant money.
Yeah,
money
that's just flying around.
Just flying around. No function.
All right. Neya Kinsinjo, thanks a lot for your opening salvo. Let's bring in Yusua Aliyu. What is your take on let's say now, the economics of 2019 electioneering?
You see, when electioneering is mentioned, first of all, we have to go back to our Electoral Act, because the Act specifies what and what to be done in respect of funding electioneering process. But the economy as it is also is always expecting injections into the economy. But like rightly pointed out by Mr. Nee, errant money that is not productive in the first instance. So when you go to the economy, you realize, looking back to 2014, for instance, as a case study, you find a situation there was substantial withdrawal of about $2.6 billion US from our foreign reserve to the economy, and which also triggered so much about inflation at that period. So the economy now, it is true that based on Electoral Act, there is certain amount at which presidential candidate is expected to spend. And there is also a limit at which, for instance, even the donations made. In fact, funding election in an economy is a necessary tool for that economy to move. But doing the right thing with the funding is also what matters. So obviously, Nigerian economy as it is today, yes, we are coming out of recession, and when coming out of recession is pronounced, you are expecting a lot of negative and positive tendencies that will be attached to the economy. One of it is the relationship of the economy with the international oil production. Now, our production level has been cut down because of many factors. The OPEC is struggling itself. When OPEC is struggling, the Nigerian economy will be struggling. The fiscal responsibilities of the commitment of the government is also being affected. Looking at, for instance, the electioneering of 2018 has to do with a budget of 2018. And now there is also tension about the 2019 budget, and also attached to it is another war, which is between the labor economics and the economy itself.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Joshua. We're now moving to Lagos. My question is for Mr. John Chukwu, a financial analyst. Moving out of the recession, a biting recession that in the last 25 years has not happened in this country. We've just been moving out of it. The polity is tense and politicking is going on. A lot of people say there's no cash flow. I'm going to ask you this question. What is the economic outlook for 2019 before and after the elections?
Okay, thank you. I think if we have to look at the economic outlook for 2019, we have to look at what will happen in the next 3 months. A lot of factors that will shape the performance of the economy will be dependent on what happens between February and March. But interestingly, this year is going to be largely dominated by political activities. So I want to believe that in terms of economic outlook, we're going to see relatively weak economic performance in 2019. And this is premised on several factors. One, we are going to see a dominance of monetary policies and some fiscal policies being in abeyance. Yesterday, the National Assembly started considering the 2019 budget. And they had to say that there were mistakes that they had to send back to the ministries to correct. You're likely going to see that this 2019 budget will not be passed into law until the end of the first quarter of this year, possibly towards the end of second quarter of this year. So the fiscal tool that the government needs to stimulate the economy will not be available until after the elections. Right now, a lot of people involved in political activities are in the field campaigning. So you're also not seeing those who will drive implementation of economic policies, they on the ground driving those economic policies. So this year, we should see that all things being equal, the performance of the economy will be dependent on whether we're going to have a free and fair election, whether all the parties involved in the election will accept the outcome of that election, and how quickly the government will set about forming a government after the election.
All right, Jonathan, stay with you in Lagos. Before we bring in Ken Okoha, before Ken Okoha comes, John, I would like you to speak to what you think about the economics of electioneering, which is in full bloom right now.
Well, if I have to take it from a macroeconomic perspective, what happens is that you will see that different people at different structures of the economy are affected separately, differently from electioneering activities, because we're talking about the economics of electioneering. You look at those, the artisans, those at the lower rung of the economic ladder, they are the major beneficiaries of economics of elections. We've seen a lot of itinerant workers getting paid on a daily basis. We've seen those who had no jobs, who have now become political jobbers. We're going to see the parties recruit agents and returning of agents to supervise their own elections. So you will see a lot of people who were ordinarily unemployed getting into temporary employment. So you see cash flow that will go to that section. Then for the structured aspect of the economy, like in the construction companies, they are likely going to see slowdown in payment from government because government resources are finite. So what will happen is government will move a lot more resources to attend to political related activities instead of attending to those things that would drive economic growth. I want to see that. So in effect, you're going to see some level of transfer of wealth, though at temporary level, from the organized businesses to the informal sectors of the business, those who are printing T-shirts, posters, they will not be beneficial. Those who are even paid to go and paste the posters will not be beneficial of the shift in economic activities.
All right, John Chukwu, thank you very much. Ken Okoha, please take up from where John just left off. What is your perspective on what is playing out with regard to the economic spin-off of the electioneering season?
Very much, Kingsley. I think what we are noticing this period is that unlike previous times when we had elections, funds were here and there, mobilized by politicians. People were giving money, and people were getting money freely. There is a squeeze at this time. In fact, the only people who are getting a little cash in their pockets are the informal sector, food vendors, for instance, who are there where the campaigns are going on. They are feasting on them, and then, people who are hawking drinks around campaign areas, carpenters who are mounting the podiums, decorators who are decorating, and these are the few people. But just yesterday, I had a meeting with our leaders in Lagos, and one of them was complaining. I said, oh, please, sir, we are not getting funds that we were expecting. I said, where were you expecting the funds from? He said, from politicians. They are not buying things. The only things they are getting, the only sector that is getting money now is the printing sector, subsector. And they print T-shirts, they print posters, they print handbills. But the money is not. I said, those who are selling, things that relate to printing are also making money. He said, yes, but money is not coming to some of them. I said, okay. I think that one thing that is happening is that we need to also look forward to the season where we are now. And I say this without sense of humility. The rains, there are going to be early rains this year. And in the next few months, agriculture should be setting in. One concern should be, after the election, what will be the security situation of the country? Would farmers go to farm? 1. 2, would there be budgets to enable farming, agriculture sector get off? Because the budget is still under consideration. 3, would the people be secured enough to move freely and to have the confidence to go into the markets? So where this does not happen, what you are going to see is that people are also going to, even the informal sector, they're also going to hold up their money. It may be good for the economy in the sense that you're not pushing a lot to the economy, but in terms of redistribution of, goods and services, there might be some lull, and that will not be the best for the economy. Thank you.
Still talking about artisans, people in the trade and all that you've mentioned as a president of the National Association of Traders in Nigeria, Nigerian traders, you said it has affected the flow of money and they have been complaining. Is that a new tide towards stability in this country economically? To Mr. Okoha.
Very honest with you. I think it's a new thing. People majority may not be seeing it as a good omen for the country, in the sense that, we have a situation at hand now where the bulk of money is not being pushed out to the street. And therefore, people, in quote, are not seeing that they're enjoying the money of politicians. But what is happening is that economically, we wouldn't have such inflation tendencies that would have arisen. Number 2 is that there is there's a limit to attraction to politics. And number 3 is that people are subconsciously coming back to their senses that, look, politics is not all about money. So money politics will now be going slowly down. And I have also seen a situation where organizations like ours, for instance, as we speak today, we are having campaigns in different states, in Katsina, in Benue State, in Adamawa, in Taraba, where we're campaigning, saying, look, people, we have our manifesto, Farmers Manifesto. We also have our Traders Charter of Demands that we are giving to politicians. And so we do not want to vote parties. We are voting people who are committed to helping, to assisting us, to facilitating our trade, to facilitating our economy. And this is what we're doing. But the money bags are not seeing that traders, the informal sector, is, not picking the money issue very strongly. So money politics is going down. So in the subconscious nature of the people, I think that it's dwindling now. Thank you.
All right, Ken Okoha, thank you very much. Let's return to our Abuja studios. My question is going first again to Nii Akinseju. Nii, is it possible that perhaps we are, in terms of evaluating the cash flow for the 2019 electioneering period, we are probably exaggerating the scenario now that there isn't errant money, as you very appropriately described it? What is happening at the subnational level? Yes, in the past, it was always that federal money, of so-called federal might, including brute force and so on and so forth, would trickle down to the states and then to the money, to the henchmen at the state level and the local government level. But is it possible that some states, with very little oversight, are perhaps also you know, getting their, I don't know, are they financing the system?
Of course,
yes.
Of course. The character of the federal government, as it were, is different, you know, from so many of the subnationals, the states. My SNAP survey, you know, kind of tells me that it's not the same, you know, at the level of the subnational. It's unfortunate, but I think with time, it's about modeling. There's already an established structure in our federal system, where the federal government leads, you know, in terms of discipline and philosophy. So it's usually what the federal government does, you know, that the states would over time, you know, align with. Even in current times, it's still not as it used to be in the subnationals. You still see some form of discipline. Some of my friends will call it the demonetization of the process. And we are excited by it because there are so many potentials out there that are discouraged, you know, by this huge monetization of the process. And for me, we will still need to go further to create that stakeholders mentality in the average Nigerian mind, such that it is what you give to the political party, you know, that will be your stake in that party. And I think the Electoral Act 2010 has taken care of all this in terms of equity and all that. No individual or organization should contribute more than ₦1 million into a candidate's purse and all that. So if we still look at what the subnationals are doing, it is one, it is disciplined, but usually the money still go from the federal to the states for disbursement. And we can start talking, even now there's the case of Fayoshe, the federal government versus Fayoshe, you know, where...
That matter is sub judice.
Yes, it's sub judice. Okay. All right. But what I'm trying to say essentially is that there is a reformation, you know, of our political ecosystem. I think this is a path to take. And it's already with what we have seen in the last 2 weeks, when President Buhari started his own campaign, we can also see strong momentum, and it is strategic. Why do I say strategic? The other party, the PDP, started this campaign about 2 months ago. In the last 2-3 weeks, the ruling party started its own and had covered more grounds, you know, from what we are seeing. And we can also see the momentum going into the election in another 2 weeks, 3 weeks or thereabout. And the people have not lost their heads. This time, 2015, we all lost our heads, you know, looking for where the money is, who is sharing money, who is sharing dollars.
I didn't know you were looking for the money needed, man.
Who will not look for dollars?
All right, okay, Nii Akinseju, thanks a lot.
Yes, with many political alignment and realignment, are there dimensions of the campaign that impact on investors' confidence, with so many investors sitting on the fence? What's your take on that?
It is normal in democracies when looking for opportunities by electioneering, you have to sell yourself within and outside the economy. And that is why we have seen a change now. Prior to this, in 2015, it was the same president that was going around the world trying to tell them what he has for the economy. And now what is on ground is the opposition are going out of the nation to try to sell their manifesto. But in my own, when you look critically, I will add that the structure is changing. And since it is changing, how? You look at, for instance, a policy of government on TSA. It has helped a lot to tell investors that we are now more serious about our finances. And if you are serious about your finances, you'll be serious about others' finances. That is one. Two, even at the party structure level, we have seen, even though it has been argued that we money, but so much funds has gone into the political parties. We have seen how gubernatorial candidate in a state, from the politician to the main political, the two connected by an economist. The other party are still looking at, you cannot process, you market before. Probably after the transition, we will have more ground to market the economy for investors to come, but calm attitude is natural because of the highlighted that the global trend, economic trend, is slowing down.
They're a bit serious if they can stand on their rule. And, investors feel that the rules are very key. Very key. Adapting to the rules, ensuring that you implement the rules, whoever, not minding who's God, us is being God, I think is very key. And then few other, issues like, the enabling business environment, ease of doing business, those architecture are doing a lot to, redeem and, reverberate the confidence that investor would have. But if you look at the lower end of the ladder, business is going on, although on a slow pace. And during the elections, you are going to notice more of the slowness of businesses because people are going to look at their head first, secure their head, are also saving towards that. A lot of money now. People are saving happen after the election. Careful. In fact, buy goods for now. And so that tells you the kind of environment that we are going to have. We are going to be, depending on the security outlook at that time, there's going to be a kind of, because they have to come out at the same time. If we have, there's going to be a lot of money coming because people who have kept their money to pool, it is the bank that will be of, how to, handle such issue. Thank you.
Help to improve the economy.
And Dele Major B says, no doubt, whatever happens during and after the 2019 general elections is bound to affect the market economy positively or negatively. Thereby, politicians are warned to desist from actions and utterances that could negatively impact the nation's fragile democracy and even the fragile economy. Kesley. And
still from Dele Major B, it says, unlike before, investors and traders who are mostly foreigners are concerned about the political risks associated with the 2019. The fear of our economy, we must get it right to attract investors after the elections. Those are the tweets we want to take in the meantime. And let's return to our guests. Niyi Akinsuji and indeed the other guests in Lagos with us in the Abuja studios. After the elections, there will be the account. Are you hearing and seeing with regard to the economic messaging content of the electioneering? What message is going out there, particularly to the key T-shirts and other specialized economic messaging content? Once again, if I repeat that we can discern from the discernible economic message for the second quarter of the economy. Me first.
Personally, I am government. I think sometimes in October, November, there was a clear circular to ban of money laundering position too. See this disciplined comportment by the federal government, and and equal conduct from where you expect. Now, going into, I am expecting.
Yeah, honestly speaking, you don't expect the manufacturers to be at a boom when importation is at a boom. What it does is to stifle the local economy, local production, because of the severe competition that is attracted. And in that respect, what we feel should be done is for Nigeria to, consistently tackle the menace of smuggling, the menace of, unbridled, importation, and the influx of goods, especially those that we have substitutes, local substitutes, alternatives here. And thanks to the CBN, I hear that they want to increase the number of goods and items that cannot benefit from, the foreign currency, from 41 to another additional 8 items to be placed on that block. And I think, weighing that, of course, I know that a lot of people were angry with that, but also say that, monumentally, gradually, can also be having. I think we also need to see any government that comes in, the industrial policy of the nation, a bond with such government. Going back to the earlier question that my colleague Johnson addressed, them in terms, and when they win, to monitor, to measure, graphics and all of that, how people, the commitment we are put into place. It's quite easy to make commitments.
A new template, an electionary campaign would have evolved.
All right. Ni Akinsiju, financial and investment analyst, would like to thank you for being on Good Morning Nigeria again today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And appreciation also to Yeshua Aliu, who's an economist, joining us today. Thanks a lot for being around.
Thank you very much.
From Lagos, we had 2 guests. Ken Okoha, who is National President of Nigerian Traders Association. Thank you for your time and for your comments. And also appreciation to Mr. Johnson Chukwu, a financial analyst who joined us along with Ken from our Lagos Network Studios. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's go over now to our sports desk.